The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and light that orbited the red sun of the Krethian homeworld. Inside, representatives from 43 different species gathered for the monthly Galactic Council meeting. The air processors worked hard to maintain an atmosphere that could support all the different forms of life present. Some delegates breathed methane. Others needed high pressure. The chamber accommodated them all. Ambassador Velthora stood on her platform, her 6 legs clicking against the metal floor. Her compound eyes reflected the lights of 1,000 data screens. She was from the Centauri's hive, an insectoid species known for their patience and wisdom. Today, she would need both. "Honored Council," Velthora began, her voice translated into 43 languages simultaneously. "I propose we finally make contact with the human species of Earth." A wave of clicking, whistling, and electronic sounds filled the chamber. This was how the council laughed. High Commander Zaxtor rose from his seat. He was Krethian, a species that looked like walking lizards covered in dark blue scales. His people had conquered 12 star systems. They were the military power of this sector. "Contact the humans?" he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "Why would we waste time on such primitives?" Velthora had expected this response. "The humans discovered faster-than-light travel 200 years ago. They clearly possess advanced technology." "And what have they done with it?" Zaxtor asked, spreading his clawed hands wide. "Nothing. They stay in their solar system like scared children hiding under a blanket. They have not established a single colony. They have not expanded. They have not even tried to contact us." Other delegates nodded their various heads. This was true. Humanity had developed FTL drives 2 centuries ago, but they never left their home system. Every species with FTL technology expanded quickly. It was what advanced civilizations did, but not humans. "Perhaps they have reasons," Velthora suggested quietly. "Yes, the reason is called weakness," Zaxtor said. "They are afraid. They know the galaxy is full of species stronger than them. So they hide." The council chamber's main display showed a map of known space. One small yellow circle marked the Terran solar system. Around it, red warning symbols blinked. "Hazard zone, quantum instabilities, all ships avoid." Every species knew these warnings. The space around Earth's system was supposedly dangerous. Ships that went there might be destroyed by random energy bursts. "The Terran quarantine zone has protected them," another delegate said. "Lucky for them that their system sits in such a dangerous area." Velthora wanted to argue more, but she could see it was useless. The council saw humans as primitives who got lucky with their location. Nothing she said would change their minds today. Far across the galaxy, in a sector known as the Borderlands, 47 ships limped through the darkness. They were refugee vessels, carrying the Minari people. The Minari looked like beings made of living crystal, their bodies reflecting light in beautiful patterns. They were peaceful, spiritual, and now homeless. A civil war in their home sector had forced them to flee. The ships were old. Their engines barely worked. They had no weapons, no shields worth mentioning. They were just trying to reach a safe system where they could start over. Captain Jiwoo Park watched them on her display screen. She sat in the command chair of a ship that officially did not exist. The UHSV Silent Guardian was one of humanity's greatest secrets. It was a stealth vessel, invisible to every known type of scanner in the galaxy. Right now, it floated in space just 10,000 kilometers from the refugee convoy, completely undetected. "Captain, I'm picking up multiple contacts," Lieutenant Minjun Kong said from the tactical station. His young face was tense. 3 warships. Krethian design. Jiwoo felt her stomach tighten. This was not good. Krethian warships in the Borderlands usually meant only one thing: raiders looking for easy prey. "Are they hailing the refugees?" she asked. Minjun listened to the communications. Yes, Captain. They're demanding tribute, food, fuel, medical supplies, and they want 20 refugees as slaves. Dr. Hana Choi looked up from her medical station. Captain, the Minari don't have anything to give. Their supplies are almost gone. That's why they're refugees. On the screen, the Krethian warships moved into position around the convoy. They were predators circling wounded prey. The refugees tried to scatter, but they were too slow. The Krethian ships herded them back together like animals. They're powering weapons, Minjun reported. His hands moved across his controls, ready for whatever order came next. Ji-woo had been in command of the Silent Guardian for 5 years. In that time, she had made this choice 17 times. Every time it got harder. She looked at the faces of her crew. They all knew what she was thinking. Humanity had been hiding for 200 years. In that time, they had built a secret fleet of stealth ships. These ships protected the weak, stopped massacres, and saved lives. But they did it invisibly. The galaxy had no idea humans were out here. That secrecy was humanity's greatest advantage. If she revealed their presence now, everything could change. But if she did nothing, 47 ships full of innocent people would die. Captain, Hana said softly, the Minari have children on those ships. I'm reading life signs that match juvenile patterns. Ji-woo closed her eyes for 1 second. Then she opened them, and her voice was steady. Helm, plot an intercept course. Place us directly between the Krethian vessels and the refugee convoy. Yes, Captain, the helmsman replied. Tactical, prepare to decloak on my mark. Ready, Captain, Minjun said. Communications, prepare a message in Galactic Standard. Tell them to stand down. The communications officer nodded. Ji-woo took a deep breath. 200 years of secrecy was about to end. All stations, this is the captain. We are about to reveal ourselves. Whatever happens next, remember why we're here. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. That's what humans do. Around the bridge, her crew straightened in their seats. They were ready. Decloak now, Ji-woo ordered. The Silent Guardian dropped its stealth field. For the first time in this sector of space, a human vessel appeared on alien sensors. The Krethian warships immediately detected the new contact. On the Krethian command ship, alarms blared. Sensors showed a ship where nothing had been seconds before. A ship with strange markings. A ship that looked primitive but had appeared out of nowhere. And on that ship's hull, in letters 2 meters tall, was a word the Krethians had only heard in jokes and dismissive comments. Human. Commander Raxic stared at his sensor display in confusion. The readings made no sense. A ship had just appeared directly between his battle group and the refugee convoy. One moment there was empty space. The next moment a vessel existed where nothing had been before. Identification? He demanded. His sensor officer's scales turned pale with shock. Sir, the markings indicate it's a human vessel. Impossible, Raxic said. Humans don't leave their system. Scan for weapons. Sir, I'm detecting advanced shielding, point defense systems, and I can't get clear readings on everything. Whatever this ship is, it's more sophisticated than anything in our database for human technology. Raxic felt a cold sensation run down his spine. He had served in the Krethian military for 30 years. In all that time, no ship had ever hidden from his sensors so completely. Open a channel to High Commander Zaxtor. He needs to see this. Across the galaxy, Zaxtor was still in the council chamber when the emergency communication arrived. He excused himself and moved to a private viewing room. When he saw the images from the borderlands, his eyes widened. That can't be human, he said to Raxic through the communication link. The markings say otherwise. High Commander? Then it's a stolen vessel. Some pirates with a sense of humor painted human symbols on their ship. Zaxic felt relief at this explanation. Destroy it and continue with the refugee processing. Back in the borderlands, Commander Raxic received his orders. He opened a channel to the mysterious vessel. "Unknown ship, you are interfering with Krethian military operations. Stand down and prepare to be boarded." On the Silent Guardian's bridge, Jiwoo listened to the demand. She nodded to her communications officer. "Send our response." The Krethian crew heard a voice speaking flawless Galactic Standard, a language humans supposedly didn't know. "Krethian vessels. This is Captain Jiwoo Park of the United Humanity stealth vessel Silent Guardian. You will power down your weapons and leave this sector immediately. The refugees under our protection will not be harmed." Raxic couldn't believe what he was hearing. Perfect Galactic Standard, calm authority, and the claim that this was truly a human ship. "Your protection? Humans don't even have a military presence outside their system." "That's what we wanted you to think," Jiwoo replied. Minjun watched his tactical display as the Krethian ships began to spread out, taking attack positions. "Captain, they're preparing to fire." "I see it," Jiwoo said. She pressed a button on her command chair. "All crew, battle stations, remember our rules of engagement, disable only, no lethal force unless absolutely necessary." The first Krethian ship fired. A plasma bolt screamed toward the Silent Guardian. The human vessel's point defense system activated, and dozens of small lasers destroyed the plasma bolt before it could hit. The Krethians fired again. Same result. "Their defensive systems are incredible," the Krethian tactical officer reported to Raxic. "Nothing is getting through." "All ships concentrate fire," Raxic ordered. "Overwhelm their defenses." 3 Krethian warships opened fire simultaneously. The space between them and the Silent Guardian lit up with weapons fire. Plasma bolts, missiles, and energy beams all converged on the human vessel. The Silent Guardian's shields absorbed some hits. Point defense destroyed others. A few shots got through and impacted the hull, but the armor held. On the bridge, Jiwoo felt the ship shake. "Damage report. Minor hull scoring, Section 7, no breaches. Shields at 82%, Minjun reported. "Return fire. Target their weapon systems only." The Silent Guardian's main railgun fired. The projectile moved at a significant fraction of light speed. It hit the lead Krethian ship's primary weapon array and destroyed it completely. The Krethian vessel was still intact, its crew unharmed, but it could no longer fight. "What was that?" Raxic shouted as alarms filled his bridge. "What kind of weapon?" "Kinetic projectile, sir. Traveling at .4 light speed, our shields couldn't stop it." The Silent Guardian fired again and again. Each shot was perfectly aimed. Each shot disabled weapons or engines but left life support and crew quarters untouched. Within 3 minutes, all 3 Krethian warships were floating helplessly in space, unable to fight or flee. "Damage to enemy vessels?" Jiwoo asked. "All 3 ships disabled, Captain." "Reading no casualties. Their crews are safe," Minjun said with satisfaction. "Good. Communications. Inform the Krethian commander that medical assistance is available if needed." Raxic sat in his darkened command center, lit only by emergency lights. His weapons were gone, his engines were offline, and the human vessel was offering medical help. He had never been so thoroughly defeated and yet treated so gently. "Captain Park," he said slowly. "Who are you people?" "We're the ones who've been watching," Jiwoo replied. "Helm, move us to the refugee convoy. Let's get them to safety." The Silent Guardian approached the Minari ships carefully. Jiwoo opened a channel to the refugee fleet. "Minari vessels, this is Captain Park. You're safe now. We're here to help." On the lead refugee ship, Elder Shinara's crystalline body trembled. "You are human?" "Yes." "Then the stories are true. The silent ones are real." Jiwoo felt confused. "What stories?" "Tales passed among refugee groups and merchant convoys. Stories of ships that appear when raiders attack. Ships that save the helpless and then vanish like ghosts." We thought they were legends, hopes we told ourselves in dark times. But you are real." "We're real," Jiwoo confirmed quietly. Dr. Hana Choi was already preparing medical supplies. "Captain, several refugee ships are reporting injured people and critical supply shortages. Request permission to begin aid operations." "Granted. Deploy medical teams and supply drones." Small craft emerged from the Silent Guardian, carrying food, medicine, and repair equipment. Hana herself went to the refugee flagship. When she stepped through the airlock, the Minari gasped. They had never seen a human before. Hana looked at their crystalline faces and saw fear, hope, and exhaustion. "We're here to help," she said gently through her translator. As she worked, treating injuries and distributing supplies, the Minari touched her arms and hands with wonder. One young Minari, a child no more than 10 years old by their species measure, hugged her. "Thank you, Silent One." Hana felt tears in her eyes. This was why humanity had stayed hidden for 200 years, building their secret guardian fleet. So they could be here for moments like this. Back on the Silent Guardian's bridge, Min-jun was reviewing sensor data. "Captain, I'm detecting a large hyperspace signature. Multiple ships incoming." "How many?" 15 contacts. All Crethean warship class." Jiwoo stood up. This was it. Zaxtor wasn't going to let this go. "Send a coded message to Fleet Command. Let them know we're about to have company." "Captain, should we cloak and retreat?" the helmsman asked. Jiwoo looked at the refugee ships on her screen. They were still taking on supplies, still being repaired. They couldn't run. "No, we stand and protect. Send another coded message. Tell Admiral Kwan we need the cavalry." Min-jun smiled as he sent the message. "Message sent, Captain. And ma'am, they're going to be so surprised." "Who? The Cretheans?" "Everyone." The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos. Emergency reports were flooding in from the borderlands. A human vessel had engaged Crethean military forces. More than engaged. It had defeated them. Ambassador Velthora tried to process the information. Everything she thought she knew about humanity was wrong. The reports showed weapon systems decades ahead of known human technology, stealth capabilities that shouldn't exist. And most shocking, the ship had been protecting refugees. "This is a disaster," the Zephron delegate announced. The Zephrons were merchants, always worried about trade disruptions. If the humans have military vessels this advanced, they could threaten anyone. "Or they could have been protecting people all along," Velthora said quietly. But her voice was lost in the noise. Most delegates were already planning defensive measures. Some called for sanctions. Others suggested a preemptive strike while humanity's capabilities were still unknown. High Commander Zaxtor stood at the center of the chamber. His shame at being defeated by a single human ship had transformed into rage. "I have mobilized a battle fleet. 15 warships are entering the borderlands as we speak. This insult to Crethean honor will be answered." "You're sending 15 warships against one?" Velthora asked. "Isn't that excessive?" "That one ship defeated 3 of mine," Zaxtor replied coldly. "I'm not taking chances with primitives who got lucky." The fleet emerged from hyperspace in a perfect attack formation. 15 Crethean warships, each one a powerful vessel designed for combat. Commander Jaxvin led the fleet. He had strict orders from Zaxtor. Destroy the human vessel and teach humanity the cost of interfering with Crethean affairs. "Sensors, locate the human ship," Jaxvin ordered. "Sir, I have it. Single contact, bearing 270. Wait. Sir, I'm detecting multiple new contacts." "How many?" 12 ships, sir. They're all decloaking simultaneously." On the tactical display, 12 new vessels appeared around the refugee convoy. They had been there all along, invisible and waiting. Each ship bore human markings. Each ship was similar in design to the Silent Guardian. The Crethian fleet suddenly looked much less impressive. "This is impossible," Jacksven whispered. "Humans don't have this kind of fleet." A new communication channel opened. A human woman's face appeared on every screen in the Crethian fleet. She was older than Captain Park, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes hard with experience. "Crethian vessels, this is Admiral Seo Yun Kwon, commander of the United Humanity Defense Fleet, Guardian Division. You are ordered to power down weapons and withdraw from this sector." Jacksven recovered from his shock quickly. "Admiral, you are outnumbered 15 to 13. Surrender your vessels, and we will consider showing mercy." Seo Yun's expression didn't change. "Commander, you don't understand the situation. Let me explain it to you." On the main display of every Crethian ship, a holographic image appeared. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of points of light scattered across it. For 200 years, humanity has been operating in secret. Each light you see represents an incident where human vessels intervened to protect innocent lives. The Crethian crews stared at the display. There were so many lights, thousands of them. "We have saved over 3,000 vessels from pirate attacks," Seo Yun continued. "We have stopped 47 massacres. We have prevented 6 genocides. We have delivered medical aid to plague-stricken colonies. We have rescued crews from dying ships. And we have done it all without asking for recognition or reward." "Why?" Jacksven asked, genuinely confused. "Why would you do this in secret?" "Because we learned a hard lesson in our own history," Seo Yun said. Her voice became heavy with old pain. "Humanity's past is full of darkness. We conquered each other. We enslaved each other. We committed terrible acts in the name of power and pride. When we finally reached the stars and saw the galaxy beyond, we made a choice. We would never let what happened on Earth happen to others." She stood up from her command chair. Behind her, the bridge of her flagship was visible. Crew members worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. "You thought our isolation was weakness. It was preparation. We watched the galaxy. We learned your languages, your cultures, your conflicts. We built a fleet designed not for conquest but for protection. And we waited for the day we would be ready." "Ready for what?" Jacksven asked. "Ready to be the galaxy's conscience," Seo Yun replied. "Ready to stand between the strong and the weak. Ready to pay any price to protect those who cannot protect themselves." On the Galactic Council's observation screens, delegates watched the confrontation in stunned silence. The human admiral's words echoed through the chamber. Velthora felt something she rarely experienced: hope. But Zaxtor was not moved. "Beautiful words, Admiral. But words don't win battles. Jacksven, you have your orders. Destroy them." The Crethian commander looked at his tactical display. 15 ships against 13. He should have the advantage. But something about the human admiral's confidence disturbed him. "Admiral Kwon, last chance. Stand down." "We will not stand down," Seo Yun said. "We will not abandon the refugees, and we will not let you pass." Jacksven gave the order. "All ships, attack formation. Focus fire on the flagship." The Crethian fleet opened fire. Space filled with energy weapons and missiles. The attack was coordinated, overwhelming, designed to destroy the human flagship quickly and break their formation. But the human vessels didn't scatter. They didn't try to dodge. Instead, they moved closer together. Their shields began to overlap, creating a shared defensive network. The Crethian weapons hit not one ship, but a combined shield generated by all 13 vessels working together. "What are they doing?" Jacksven demanded. His tactical officer analyzed the data. "Sir, they're redistributing the damage across all ships. Every hit is being absorbed by multiple vessels. It's incredible coordination." On the Silent Guardian's bridge, Lieutenant Min Jun watched his screens with pride. "Captain, the network is holding. Shields at 70% and stable." Ji Woo smiled. This was humanity's true strength. Not individual power, but collective protection. Maintain formation. Trust our brothers and sisters. Admiral Quan opened a channel to all human vessels. All ships, remember your training. We shield each other. Always. Always, 13 captains replied in unison. The human ships moved like a single organism. When one vessel's shields weakened, others moved to cover it. When the Crethians concentrated fire on one target, 3 others would interpose themselves. It was like watching a dance, beautiful and precise, and then the humans began to return fire. Their weapons were carefully aimed, striking at engines and weapon systems. They weren't trying to destroy the Crethian ships. They were trying to disable them without killing anyone. "Sir, we've lost weapons on ships 3, 7, and 9, the Crethian tactical officer reported. Ships 5 and 12 have lost engines. And, sir, they haven't killed anyone. All our casualties are minor injuries only." Jacksvin realized the truth. The humans could destroy his fleet if they wanted to, but they were choosing not to. They were proving a point. "All ships, cease fire." The battle stopped. The Crethian fleet floated in space, more than half their ships disabled, but all crews alive. The human vessels held their formation, shields still overlapping, protecting each other. "Admiral Quan," Jacksvin said slowly, "what do you want?" "We want you to leave," Seo Yun replied. "We want you to tell your commanders what you saw here today. We want the galaxy to know that humanity is not hiding. We are watching, and we will protect the innocent, no matter the cost." Jacksvin looked at his disabled fleet, at the refugee ships behind the human formation, safe and unharmed, at the tactical display showing how easily the humans could have destroyed him, but chose mercy instead. He thought about the thousands of lights on the Admiral's map. Thousands of times humanity had done this, in secret, expecting nothing in return. "I will tell them," he said. "But, Admiral, this won't end peacefully. High Commander Zaxtor will not accept this defeat." "We know," Seo Yun said, "but we're done hiding." The warning came 3 hours later. Long-range sensors detected a massive hyperspace signature. Admiral Quan studied the data with a heavy heart. She had hoped for more time. "How many ships?" she asked her tactical officer. 25, Admiral. Crethian heavy cruisers and battleships. High Commander Zaxtor's personal flagship is among them." Seo Yun closed her eyes for a moment. 25 warships. This wasn't a punitive expedition anymore. This was a full military response. Zaxtor was coming to make an example of humanity. "Send a message to all Guardian vessels in range. We need reinforcements." "Admiral, the nearest Guardian ships are 6 hours away." "Then we hold for 6 hours." Seo Yun opened a channel to all 13 ships in her current fleet. "All captains, this is Admiral Quan. A major Crethian fleet is inbound. They outnumber us nearly 2 to 1. Our mission remains unchanged. Protect the refugees, whatever it costs." On the Silent Guardian, Captain Ji Woo gathered her crew. "I want you all to understand what we're facing. This will be the hardest fight any of us has seen. Some of us might not survive. But those refugee ships behind us have children. They have elders. They have people who cannot defend themselves. That's why we're here." Dr. Hana Choi checked her medical bay one more time. She had treated the Minari refugees, seen their gratitude and hope. Now she prepared for human casualties. The beds were ready. The surgical equipment was sterilized. She hoped she wouldn't need most of it. Lieutenant Min Jun ran final diagnostics on the tactical systems. His hands were steady, but his heart was racing. He was 28 years old. He had trained for this his entire adult life. Now he would learn if that training was enough. The Crethian fleet emerged from hyperspace in a battle formation that spoke of overwhelming force. 25 warships spread across space like a net of destruction. On the flagship, High Commander Zaxtor stood with his arms crossed behind his back. "There they are," he said, looking at the 13 human vessels. 13 ships protecting a group of worthless refugees. Today we teach humanity the cost of defiance. His fleet commander, a veteran of 30 campaigns, studied the tactical display. Sir, the humans fought well in the previous engagement. Perhaps we should offer them terms of surrender. No terms, Zaxtor said flatly. We destroy them all. Let the galaxy see what happens when primitives pretend to be powers. Admiral Quan received the Krethian ultimatum: surrender immediately or be destroyed. There would be no negotiation, no mercy. She looked at the refugee ships on her screen. The Minari were watching, hoping, praying to their crystalline gods that the humans who had saved them once could save them again. All ships, battle formation Delta, Seo Yun ordered. Tighten our defensive network, make them work for every meter. The human vessels moved into a protective sphere around the refugee convoy. Their shields already overlapping, they prepared to face an enemy nearly twice their size. Zaxtor gave the order. His fleet opened fire with everything they had. The volume of weapons fire was staggering: plasma cannons, missile barrages, energy beams, kinetic weapons. All of it converged on the human formation. The human shields lit up like small stars as they absorbed the incoming fire. The defensive network held, distributing the damage across all 13 ships. But the sheer volume of fire was overwhelming. Shield strength began to drop. Shields at 50%, Minjun reported. We can't sustain this level of fire for long. Then we don't just defend, Jiwoo said. All ships, begin counter-fire, target their heavy weapons. The human vessels began to shoot back. Their railguns fired with precision, targeting the largest weapons on the Krethian ships. Several enemy vessels lost their main cannons, but for every weapon they destroyed, 10 more kept firing. Admiral, the UHSV Gentle Hand is taking heavy damage, a communications officer reported. Her shields are failing. Seo Yun watched her display. The Gentle Hand was their medical ship, equipped to handle mass casualties. It was also the least armed vessel in the fleet. 3 Krethian battleships had focused their fire on it, recognizing it as vulnerable. All ships, move to cover Gentle Hand, Seo Yun ordered. 4 human vessels, including the Silent Guardian, moved into position between the medical ship and the Krethian fleet. They took the incoming fire meant for the Gentle Hand on their own shields. The sacrifice bought time, but it came at a cost. Shield failure on decks 4 through 7, Minjun reported as the Silent Guardian shook. We have hull breaches. Damage control teams responding. On another human vessel, the UHSV Eternal Watch, Commander Yun Tai Yang saw a pattern in the Krethian attack. They were trying to divide the human formation to break the defensive network. If they succeeded, they could destroy the human ships one by one. I won't let that happen, she whispered. She gave orders to her helmsman. Full forward. Place us at grid reference 7 Alpha. Her tactical officer understood immediately. Commander, that position will put us directly in the path of the enemy's focused fire. Our shields won't hold. I know, Tae Yang said quietly, but it will keep the network intact. The others can maintain formation around us. The Eternal Watch moved into the most dangerous position in the battle. Krethian fire converged on the vessel. Her shields lasted 15 seconds before failing. Then the hull began to take damage. Commander, we need to pull back, her first officer urged. Negative. Hold position. Plasma fire tore into the Eternal Watch's engines. The ship began to list, but it stayed in position. Other human vessels moved to cover her, but the damage was done. Tae Yang's ship was crippled. Eternal Watch, this is Admiral Quan. Fall back for repairs. Tae Yang looked at her dying ship. Emergency lights flickered. Damage reports flooded in. Her engines were gone, but her position had maintained the defensive network. Admiral, request permission to remain in position. We can still shield the others even if we can't move. Denied, Commander. Your crew needs... The communication was cut off by an explosion. A Krethian missile had bypassed the point defenses and struck the Eternal Watch's command deck. The ship went dark. On the Silent Guardian's bridge, Ji-Woo watched the Eternal Watch's signals disappear. Medical teams, prepare to receive survivors. But the transmission they received wasn't a distress call. It was Tai Yang's final message, recorded automatically and transmitted on all frequencies. Her voice was weak but clear. "This is Commander Yun Tae-yang. To all human vessels, hold the line. To the Minari and all refugees, we chose this. We chose to protect you. Tell the galaxy. Tell them what humanity stands for." The transmission ended. Emergency pods began launching from the dying Eternal Watch. Most of her crew would survive, but Tai Yang and 18 others had been on the command deck when it was destroyed. Then the Krethian fleet made a fatal mistake. They targeted the Gentle Hand directly, trying to destroy the medical vessel while it was retrieving survivors from the Eternal Watch. Every human ship in the fleet moved simultaneously. They formed a wall of metal and shields between the Krethians and the medical ship. They didn't just overlap shields anymore. They physically interposed their vessels, taking damage meant for others. The UHSV Morning Star lost half her hull protecting the Gentle Hand. The UHSV Hope's Light sacrificed her engines to shield a damaged sister ship. The UHSV Quiet Sentinel took a direct hit to her reactor and began to overload, but her crew kept the shields running until the last second. Dr. Hana Choi worked in the Gentle Hand's medical bay, surrounded by wounded. She could feel the ship shaking as other vessels took hits meant for them. She could hear the emergency broadcasts. She knew her friends were dying to protect her patients. "We don't waste their sacrifice," she said to her medical team. "Save everyone we can." On the Krethian flagship, Zaxtor watched the battle with growing confusion. His fleet was winning. The humans were being torn apart, but they wouldn't break. They wouldn't run. Ship after ship was damaged or destroyed, but the survivors just pulled closer together. They protected each other to the very end. "Sir, we've destroyed or disabled 7 human vessels," his tactical officer reported. "But the remaining 6 are still maintaining their formation around the refugees. And, sir, our own casualties are approaching 20%. They're targeting our weapons with incredible precision." Zaxtor realized the truth. He could win this battle. He had the numbers. But the humans would never surrender. They would die to the last ship protecting those refugees. And every human ship he destroyed made him look less like a commander and more like a murderer. "Sir, incoming hyperspace signatures. Multiple contacts." "How many?" 17 human vessels, sir. Fresh reinforcements." The new arrivals were Guardian ships from across the sector. They had heard Admiral Kwan's call and come at maximum speed. They emerged from hyperspace and immediately moved to support their damaged brothers and sisters. Zaxtor looked at his display. His fleet was damaged. His enemy had just received reinforcements, and the galaxy was watching. Every transmission from this battle was being recorded. The sacrifice of the human crews was being seen by billions. "Fleet Commander, order withdrawal," he said quietly. "Sir?" "I said withdraw. We've already lost." The Krethian fleet withdrew in silence. High Commander Zaxtor stood on his bridge and watched the human vessels grow smaller on his screens. 7 human ships destroyed or crippled. 23 human crew members dead. But the refugees were safe. The defensive formation had never broken. "Sir, we're receiving multiple communication requests," his communications officer said. "From the Galactic Council, news networks, ambassadors from 12 different species." "Ignore them all," Zaxtor said. But he knew he couldn't hide forever. The galaxy had watched the battle. They had seen human ships sacrifice themselves for refugees they didn't even know. They had seen a fleet choose death over abandoning the helpless. 3 days later, a small shuttle approached the UHSV Silent Guardian. Captain Ji-Woo watched it come with surprise. The shuttle bore Krethian markings, but it wasn't armed. It was a diplomatic vessel, and the lone occupant was High Commander Zaxtor himself. "Admiral Quan, we have an unusual request," Jiwoo reported. "Zaxtor wants to come aboard, alone, unarmed." Seo Yun was aboard the Silent Guardian now, coordinating the recovery efforts. She looked at the tactical display. The Krethian shuttle was defenseless. This could be a trap, but it didn't feel like one. "Allow him to dock. But I'll meet with him personally." Zaxtor stepped through the airlock into a human ship for the first time. He expected to see primitive technology, crude designs. Instead, he saw efficiency and purpose. The corridors were clean but not fancy. The crew members he passed looked at him with cold eyes, but they didn't attack. They just watched. Admiral Quan waited for him in a conference room. The walls were covered with something Zaxtor didn't understand at first. Then he looked closer. Names. Thousands and thousands of names, engraved on metal plates. "The memorial wall," Seo Yun said quietly. "Every human who has died protecting others in the past 200 years. 10,473 names. As of 3 days ago, we added 23 more." Zaxtor approached the wall. He read names in dozens of human languages. He saw dates. He saw ages. Some of the dead had been barely adults. Others were veterans with decades of service. All had died protecting strangers. "Why?" he asked finally. "Why would you do this?" Seo Yun gestured to a chair. Zaxtor sat. She sat across from him. "Do you know Earth's history, Commander? You were primitives who destroyed your own planet with wars and pollution." "Yes," Seo Yun said without anger. "We were. For thousands of years, humanity's history was written in blood. We enslaved each other. We conquered each other. We committed genocides, started wars over resources and beliefs, and came close to destroying ourselves multiple times." She pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's history, wars, famines, atrocities. "When we finally reached the stars and discovered we weren't alone, we had a choice to make. We could bring our violence to the galaxy, or we could learn from our mistakes. So you chose to hide." "We chose to watch and learn," Seo Yun corrected. "We studied every species we could find. We learned your languages, your cultures, your histories, and we saw something that terrified us." "What?" "We saw ourselves. We saw the Krethians conquering weaker species, just like we conquered each other. We saw the Zephrons exploiting vulnerable populations for profit, just like our corporations did. We saw species being enslaved, genocided, forgotten. And we realized that if we didn't act, the galaxy would repeat all of humanity's worst mistakes." Zaxtor felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Shame. "So you appointed yourselves as protectors." "We appointed ourselves as a counterweight," Seo Yun said. "We can't stop all the injustice in the galaxy. We're not powerful enough, and we don't have the right to rule over other species. But we can stand between the strong and the weak. We can give the vulnerable a chance to escape. We can make predators think twice before attacking the helpless." She stood and walked to the memorial wall. Her hand touched one name near the bottom. "This was my daughter, Lieutenant Quan Min Seo. She died 8 years ago protecting a colony ship from raiders. She was 24 years old." Zaxtor felt his throat tighten. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be better." Seo Yun turned to face him. "That's what we learned, Commander. Humanity spent thousands of years being terrible. We were conquerors, slavers, killers. But we learned. We changed. And now we use our strength to prevent others from suffering what we inflicted on ourselves." "You called us primitive," Zaxtor said quietly. "You were right, in a way. We're technologically primitive compared to you. But we learned something you haven't yet." "What's that?" "That true civilization isn't measured by your weapons or your territory. It's measured by who you protect when no one is watching." The conference room was silent for a long moment. Then Zaxtor stood. I came here to understand what happened. Now I do. Admiral, I am resigning my command. What I did, ordering the attack on your ships and those refugees, was wrong. I let pride and arrogance guide my decisions. What will you do now? Seo Yun asked. I will tell the Galactic Council what I learned here. I will testify that humanity has earned first contact, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make my people understand what you already know. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. The chamber was packed with delegates, observers, and media from across the galaxy, and for the first time in galactic history, humans were present. Admiral Seo Yun Kwan stood at the speaker's platform. Behind her, the holographic display showed the memorial wall with its newest additions. The chamber was completely silent. Honored delegates, Seo Yun began, humanity comes before you not to ask for membership, but to offer terms. Murmurs filled the chamber. Terms? The humans were dictating terms? For 200 years, we have protected the vulnerable in secret. We have saved millions of lives. We have prevented atrocities. We did this without recognition because recognition was never the point. The point was preventing suffering. The display changed, showing footage from the Battle of the Borderlands. It showed human ships sacrificing themselves. It showed the Eternal Watch holding position as it died. It showed Commander Tai Yang's final transmission. We are willing to join your council. We are willing to share our technology and knowledge. But in return, we require that the Galactic Council adopt protection protocols for vulnerable species. No more will raiders be allowed to prey on refugees. No more will genocide be ignored because it's not profitable to intervene. No more will the weak suffer because the strong don't care. Ambassador Velthora was the first to speak. The human proposal is ambitious. Some might say impossible. We've been doing it for 200 years, Seo Yun replied. The only difference is now we're asking you to help. The vote took 3 days. In the end, the protection protocols passed by a narrow margin. It wasn't unanimous. Some species resented the moral pressure. Others feared the cost. But enough delegates had watched the Battle of the Borderlands and understood what humanity was offering. Not conquest, but conscience. On the planet of the Minari refugees, a ceremony was held. The crystalline beings gathered in their largest temple. Elder Shin'ara stood before a new monument made from the tears of 10,000 Minari, crystallized and formed into a sculpture. It showed human and Minari figures standing together. The base was inscribed in both languages, the Stardust Memorial, in honor of those who paid the cost of protecting the innocent. Dr. Hana Choi attended the ceremony. She stood with Captain Jiwoo, Lieutenant Min Jun, and survivors from all the human ships that had fought in the battle. The Minari sang a song of remembrance, their crystalline bodies resonating with harmonies that humans could barely perceive. Do you think it was worth it? Min Jun asked quietly. 23 lives lost. Ask them, Jiwoo said, gesturing to the thousands of Minari filling the temple. Ask the children who would have died. Ask the elders who would have been enslaved. They'll tell you. A young Minari approached Hana. She recognized him as the child who had hugged her after the first rescue. Silent one, he said shyly. Will you always protect us? Hana knelt down to his level. We'll always try. And now, we've taught the galaxy to try too. Far across space on the UHSV Silent Guardian's bridge, new crew members took their positions. The ship had been repaired, her systems were upgraded, and her mission continued. Captain Jiwoo looked at her crew. Some were veterans of the battle, others were fresh from training, inspired by the stories they'd heard. Helm, set course for the outer sectors, she ordered. Let's see who needs help out there. As the Silent Guardian engaged her stealth systems and vanished from normal space, her wake rippled through the quantum fields. To those who knew how to look, that ripple sent a message to every corner of the galaxy. The Guardians were watching. In the Galactic Council chamber, a new seat had been added. It was marked with Earth's symbol, and above it, engraved in metal, were words that humanity had spoken through sacrifice. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. The galaxy had learned what humanity already knew. That civilization's true measure wasn't in the wealth accumulated, the territory conquered, or the power wielded. It was in the choice to stand for those who couldn't stand for themselves. It was in the willingness to sacrifice for strangers. It was in understanding that strength without compassion was just another form of cruelty. The cost had been paid in stardust and blood, but the price had bought something priceless, a galaxy that finally understood what it meant to be truly civilized.